Dracula by Bram Stoker. Read for Mermaids by Gabriel Solstricker. Chapter 24. Dr. Seward's phonograph diary, spoken by Van Helsing. This to Jonathan Harker. You are to stay with your dear Madam Mina. We shall go make our search, but if I can call it so, for it is not search but knowing, and we seek confirmation only. But do you stay and take care of her today. This is your best and most holiest office. This day nothing can find him here. This day nothing can find him here. Let me tell you that so you will know what we foreknow already. For I have told them. He, our enemy, has gone away. He has gone back to his castle, Transylvania. I know it well, as if a great hand of fire wrote it on the wall. He had prepared for this in some way, and that last earth box was ready to ship somewhere. For this he took the money, for this he hurried at the last, lest we catch him before the sun go down. It was his last hope, save that he might hide in the tomb, that he think, poor Miss Lucy, being as he thought like him, keep open to him. But there was not the time. But there was not the time. When that failed, he makes straight for his last resource, his last earthwork. I might say, did I wish to blunt haunt. He is clever, oh so clever. You know that his game here was finished, and so he decides to go back home. He find a ship going by the route he came, and he go in that. We go off now to find that ship, and with a bound. When we have discovered that, we will come back and tell you all. Then we will comfort you and poor dear Mina with new hope. For it will be hope when you think it over, that all is not lost. This very creature we pursue, he take hundreds of yards to get so far as London. Yet in one day, we know of the disposal of him and we drive him out. He is finite, though he is powerful to do much harm, and suffers not as we do. But we are strong, each in our purpose, and we are all more strong together. Take heart afresh, dear husband of Mina. This battle is but begun, and in the end, we shall win. So sure as that God that sits on high to watch over his children. Therefore, be of much comfort till we return. Van Helsing. Jonathan Harker's Journal, 4th of October. When I read to Mina Van Helsing's message in the phonograph, the poor girl brightened up considerably. Already, the certainty that the Count is out of the country has given her comfort, and comfort is strength to her. For my own part, now that this horrible danger is not face to face with us, it seems almost impossible to believe. Even my own terrible experiences in Castle Dracula seem like a long forgotten dream. Here in the crisp autumn air, in the bright sunlight. Alas, how can I disbelieve? In the midst of my thought, my eye fell on the red scar on my poor darling's white forehead. Whilst that lasts, there can be no disbelief. And afterwards, the very memory of it will keep faith crystal clear. Mina and I fear to be idle, so we have been over all the diaries again and again. Somehow, although the reality seems greater each time, the pain and fear seem less. There is something of a guiding purpose manifest throughout, which is comforting. Mina says that perhaps we are instruments of an ultimate good. It may be. I shall try to think as she does. We have never spoken to each other yet of the future. It is better to wait and see the professor and the others after their investigations. The day is running by more quickly than I thought. It is now 3 o'clock. Mina Harker's journal. 5th of October, 5 p.m. Our meeting for a report. Present, Professor Van Helsing, Lord Godalming, Dr. Seward, Mr. Quincy Morris, Jonathan Harker, Mina Harker. Van Helsing described what steps were taken during the day to discover on what boat and whither bound Count Dracula made his escape. As I knew that he wanted to get back to Transylvania, I felt sure that he must go by the Danube mouth or somewhere in the Black Sea, since by that way he came. It was a dreary blank that was before us. Omne ignotum pro magnifico. And so, with heavy hearts, we start to find what ships leave for the Black Sea last night. He was in a sailing ship, since Madame Mina tells of sails being set. These not so important as to go on your list of the shipping of the times, and so we go, by suggestion of Lord Godalming, to your Lloyd's, where a note of all ships that sail, however so small. There we find that only one Black Sea-bound ship go out with the tide. She is the Tsarina Catherine, and she sailed from Doolittle's Wharf for Varna, and thence on to other parts of the Danube. So, said I, this is the ship whereon is the Count. So off we go to Doolittle's Wharf, and there we find a man in an office of wood, so small that the man looked bigger than the office. From him we inquire the goings of the Tsarina Catherine. He swore much, and he red of face and loud of voice, but he was a good fellow all the same. And when Quincy gave him something from his pocket, which crackled as he rolled it up, and put it in a so small bag, which he had hidden deep his clothing, he's still a better fellow and humble servant to us. He came with us, and asked many men who were rough and hot. These be better fellows too when they have been no more thirsty. They say much of blood and bloom, and of others which I comprehend not, though I guess what they mean. Nevertheless, they tell us all things that we want to know. They make known to us, among them, how last afternoon, as about 5 o'clock, comes to a man so hurry. A tall man, thin and pale, with a high nose and teeth so white and eyes that seemed to burn. That he be all in black, except that he have a hat of straw, which suited him not at the time. That he scatter his money in making quick inquiry as to what ship sails for the Black Sea and for where. Some took him to the office and then to the ship, where he will not go aboard but halt at shore end of the gangplank and ask that the captain come to him. The captain comes when told that he will pay well, and though he swear much, at the first he agreed to term. Then the thin man go and someone tell him where horse and cart can be hired. He go there and soon he come again, himself driving cart on which a great box. This he himself lift down, though it takes several to put it on the truck for the ship. He give much talk to captain as to how and where his box is to be placed, but the captain like it not, and swear at him in many tongues, and tell him that if he like, he can come and see where it shall be. But he say no, that he come not yet, for that he have much to do. Whereupon the captain tells him he had better be quick with the blood, for that his ship will leave of the place, the blood, before the turn of the tide, with blood. That's an unusual thing, but I assume that's an expression. There's been a few of these that have been a bit like that don't really make sense to like the modern sensibilities, but probably made sense at the time. This book is, 100 years old. Then the thin man smile and say that of course he must go when he think fit, but he will be surprised if he go quite soon. Captain swear again, polyglot, and the thin man make him bow and thank him, and say that he will go so far to intrude on his kindness as to come aboard before sailing. Finally the captain, more red than ever and in more tongues, tell him he doesn't want no Frenchmen with bloom upon them and also blood in his ship, with blood on her also. And so, after asking where there might be close at hand a ship where he might purchase ship forms, he departed. No one knew where he went, or bloom and well cared, as they said, for they had something else to think of. Well, with blood again, for it soon became apparent to all that the Serena Catherine would not sail as expected. A thin mist began to creep up from the river, and it grew and grew, till soon a dense fog enveloped the ship all around her. The captain swore, polyglot, with bloom and blood, but he could do nothing. The water rose and rose, and he began to fear that he would lose the tide altogether. He was in no friendly mood, when just at full tide, a thin man came up the gangplank again, and asked to see where his box had been stowed. The captain replied that he wished that he and his box, old with much bloom and blood, were in hell, but the thin man did not be offended, and went down with the mate and saw where it was placed, and came up and stood a while on the deck in the fog. He must have come by himself, for none noticed him. Indeed, they thought not of him, for soon the fog began to melt away, and all was clear again. My friends of the thirst and the language that was of bloom and blood laughed, as they told how the captain's swears exceeded even his usual polyglot, and was more than ever full of picturesque when on questioning other mariners who were on movement up and down the river that hour. He found that few of them had seen fog at all, except where it lay around the wharf. However, the ship went out on the ebb tide, and was doubtless by morning far down the river mouth. She was, by then, when they told us, at sea. And so, my dear Madam Mina, it is that we have a rest for a time, for our enemy is on the sea with the fog at his command, on his way to the Danube. To sail a ship takes time, goes she never so quick, and when we start, we go on land more quick, and we meet him there. Our best hope is to come on him when the box between sunrise and sunset, for then he can make no struggle, and we may deal with him as we should. There are days for us in which we can make ready our plan. We know all about where to go, but we have seen the owner of the ship, who have shown us invoices and all papers that can be. The box we seek is to be landed in Varna and given to an agent, one Ristix, who will be there present his credentials, and so our merchant friend will have done his part. When he asks if there may be any wrong, for that's so, he can telegraph and have inquiry made at Varna. We said no, for what is to be done is not for police or of customs. It must be done by us alone, and in our way. When Dr. Van Helsing had done speaking, I asked him if he was certain that the Count had remained on board the ship. He replied, "We have the best proof of that, by our own evidence, when in the hypnotic trance this morning." I asked him again if it were really necessary that they should pursue the Count, for, I dread Jonathan leaving me, and I know that he would surely go if the others went. He answered in growing passion, at first quietly. As he went on, however, he grew more angry and forceful, till in the end we could not see wherein was at least some of that personal dominance which made him so long a master amongst men. Yes, it is necessary, for your sake in the first, and then for the sake of all humanity. This monster has done much harm already, in the narrow scope where he finds himself, and in the short time, as yet he was only as a body groping his so small measure in the darkness, and not knowing. All this I have told those others. My dear Madam Mina will learn it in the phonograph of my friend John, or in that of your husband. I have told them how the measure of leaving his own barren land, barren of people, and coming to a new land, where the life of man teems till they were like the multitude of the standing corn, was the work of centuries. Were another of the undead, like him, to try and do what he has done, perhaps not all the centuries of the world that have been, or that will be, could aid him. With this one, all the forces of nature that are occult and deep and strong must have worked together in some wondrous way. The very place where he have been alive, undead for all these centuries, is full of strangeness of the geologic and chemical world. There are deep caverns and fissures that reach none know whither. There have been volcanoes, some whose openings still send out waters of strange properties, and gases that kill or make to vivify. Doubtless, there is something magnetic or electric in some of these combinations of occult forces which work for physical life in a strange way, and, in himself, were from the first some great qualities. In a hard and warlike time, he would celebrate that he may have more iron nerve, more subtle brain, more braver heart than any man. In him, some vital principle have, in a strange way, found their utmost. And as his body keeps strong and grow and thrive, so his brain grow too. All this without that diabolic aid which is surely to him, for it have to yield to the powers that come from and are symbolic of good. And now, this is what he is to us. He have infected you. Oh, forgive me, my dear, that I say such, but it is for the good of you that I speak. He infected you in such wise that even if you do no more, you only have to live in your own sweet way. And so in time, death, which is a man's common lot with God's sanction, shall make you like him. This must not be. We have sworn together that it must not. Thus we are ministers of God's own wish, that the world and men for whom his Son died will not be given over to monsters whose very existence would defame him. You have allowed us to redeem one soul already, and we go out as old knights of the cross to redeem more. Like them, we shall travel towards the sunrise, and like them, if we fall in good cause. He paused, and I said, But will not the Count take this rebuff wisely? Since he has been driven from England, will he not avoid it, as a tiger does the village from which he has been hunted? Aha, he said. Your simile of the tiger is good. For me, I shall adopt him. Your man-eater, as they of India call the tiger who has once tasted the blood of man, care no more for the other prey, but prowl unceasing until he get him. This, that we hunt from our village, is a tiger, too, a man-eater, and he never ceases to prowl. Nay, in himself, he is not one to retire and stay afar. In his life, his living life, he go over to the Turkey frontier and attack his enemy on his own ground. He be beaten back, but did he stay? No. He came again and again and again. Look at his persistence and endurance. With the child brain that was to him, he have long since conceived the idea of coming to a great city. What does he do? He finds out the place of all the world most of promise. Then he deliberately set himself down to prepare for the task. He find in patience just how his strength and what are his powers. He studies new tongues, he learns a new social life, a new environment of old ways, the politic, the law, finance, science, the habit of a new land, and a new people who have come to be since he was. His glimpse that he have had whet his appetite, and only inkeen his desire. Nay, it helped him to grow as to his brain, for it all proved to him how right he was at the first of his surmises. He have done this alone, all alone, from a ruined tomb in a forgotten land. What more may he not do when the greater world is thought of open to him? He that can smile at death as we know him, who can flourish in the midst of diseases that kill off whole peoples. Oh, if such an one was to come from God and not the devil, what a force for good he might not be in this old world of ours. But we are pledged to set the world free. Our toil must be in silence, our efforts in secret, for in this enlightened age, when men believe not even what they see, the doubting of wise men would be his greatest strength. It would be at once his sheath and his armor, and his weapons to destroy us, his enemies, who are willing to peril even our own souls for the safety of one we love, for the good of mankind, and the honor and glory of God. After a general discussion, it was determined that for tonight nothing could be definitely settled. We should all sleep on the facts and try to think out the proper conclusions. Tomorrow, at breakfast, we are to meet again, and after making our conclusions known to one another, we shall decide on some definite course of action. I feel a wonderful peace and rest tonight. It is as if some haunting presence were removed from me, perhaps. My surmise was not finished, could not be, for I caught sight in the mirror of the red mark on my forehead, and I knew that I was still unclean. Dr. Seward's Diary, 5th of October. We all rose early, and I think that sleep did much for each and all of us. When we met at early breakfast, there was more general cheerfulness than any of us had expected to experience again. It is really wonderful how much resilience there is in human nature. Let any obstructing cause, no matter what, be removed in any way, even by death, and we fly back to the first principles of hope and enjoyment. More than once, as we sat around the table, my eyes opened in wonder whether the whole of the past days had been a dream. It was only when I caught sight of the red blotch on Mrs. Harker's forehead that I was brought to reality. Even now, when I am gravely revolving the matter, it is almost impossible to realize that the cause of all our trouble is still existent. Even Mrs. Harker seems to lose sight of her trouble for whole spells. It is only now and then, when something recalls it to her mind, that she thinks of her terrible scar. We are to meet here in my study in half an hour and decide on our course of action. I see only one immediate difficulty. I know it by instinct rather than reason. We shall all have to speak frankly, and yet I fear that in some mysterious way, poor Miss Harker's tongue is tied. I know that she forms conclusions of her own, and that from all that has been, I can guess how brilliant and true they must be. But she will not or cannot give them utterance. I have mentioned this to Van Helsing, and he and I are to talk it over when we are alone. I suppose it is some of the horrid poison which has gotten into her veins, beginning to work. The Count had his own purposes when he gave her what Van Helsing called the vampire's baptism of blood. There may be a poison that distills itself out of good things. In an age where the existence of domains is a mystery, we should not wonder at anything. One thing I know, that if my instinct be true regarding poor Miss Harker's silences, then there is a terrible difficulty, an unknown danger in the work before us. The same power that compels her silence may compel her speech. I dare not think further, for so I should in my thoughts dishonor a noble woman. Van Helsing is coming to my study a little before the others. I shall try to open the subject with him. Later. When the professor came in, we talked over the state of things. I could see that he had something on his mind which he wanted to say, but felt some hesitancy about broaching the subject. After beating around the bush a little, he said, suddenly, "Friend John, there is something that you and I must talk of alone, just at the first at any rate. Later, we may have to take the others into our confidence." Then he stopped, so I waited, and he went on. "Madame Mina, our poor Mina, is changing." A cold shiver ran through me to find my worst fears endorsed. Van Helsing continued. "With the sad experience of Miss Lucy, we must this time be warned before things go too far. Our task now is in reality more difficult than ever. and this new trouble makes every hour the direst importance. I can see the characteristics of the vampire coming in her face. It is now but very, very slight, but it is to be seen if we have eyes to notice without to prejudge. Her teeth are some sharper, and at times her eyes are hard. But these are not all. There is to her silence now often, as so it was with Miss Lucy. She did not speak, even when she wrote that which she wished to be known later. Now my fear is this. If it be that she can, by our hypnotic trance, tell what the Count see and hear, is it not more true that he have to hypnotize her first, and who have drink of her very blood, and make her drink of his, should, if he will, compel her mind to disclose to him which she know? I nodded in acquiescence, and he went on. Then, what must we do to prevent this? We must keep her ignorant of our intent, so she cannot tell what she know not. This is a painful task. Oh, so painful that it break me to think of, but it must be. When today we meet, I must tell her that, for that reason we will not speak. She must not be more of our counsel, but be simply guarded by us. He wiped his forehead, which had broken out in profuse perspiration at the thought of the pain he might have to inflict upon the poor soul. I knew that it would be some sort of comfort to him if I told him that I had also reached the same conclusion, or at any rate, it would take away the pain of doubt. I told him, and the effect was as I expected. It is now close to the time of our general gathering. Van Helsing has gone away to prepare for the meeting and his painful part in it. I really believe his purpose is to be able to pray alone. Later. At the very outset of our meeting, a great personal relief was experienced by both Van Helsing and myself. Mrs. Harker had sent a message by her husband to say she would not join us at present, and she thought it better we should be free to discuss our movements without her presence to embarrass us. The professor and I looked at each other for an instant, and somehow we both seemed relieved. For my own part, I thought that if Miss Harker realized the danger herself, it was much pain as well as danger averted. Under the circumstances, we agreed, by a questioning look and answer, with a finger on lip, to preserve the silence in our suspicions until we should have been able to confer alone again. We went at once into the plan of our campaign. Van Helsing put the facts before us. The Tsarina Catherine left the Thames yesterday morning. It will take her, at the quickest speed she has ever made, 3 weeks to reach Varna. But we can travel overland to the same place in 3 days. Now, if we allow for 2 days less for the ship's voyage, owing to such weather influences as we know the Count can bring to bear, and if we allow for a whole day and night for any delays which occur to us, then we have a margin of nearly 2 weeks. Thus, in order to be quite safe, we must leave here on the 17th. Then we shall, at any rate, be in Varna a day before the ship arrives, and be able to make such preparations as may be necessary. Of course, we all go armed against evil things, spiritual and physical. Here Quincy Morris added, I understand that the Count comes from a wolf country, and that it may be that he shall get there before us. I propose we add Winchesters to our armament. I have a kind of belief in a Winchester when there is trouble of that sort around. Do you remember, Art, when we had the pack after us at Tobolsk? What we wouldn't have given for a repeater apiece? Good, said Van Helsing. Winchesters it shall be. Quincy's head is level at all times, but most so when there is to hunt. Metaphor be more dishonour to science than wolves be of danger to man. In the meantime, we can do nothing here, and as I think Varna is not familiar to us, why not go there more soon? It is as long to wait here as there. Tonight and tomorrow we can get ready, and then, if all be well, we four can set out on our journey. We four, said Harker, interrogatively, looking from one to another. Of course, answered the professor quickly. You must remain to take care of your sweet wife. Harker was silent for a while, and then said in a hollow voice, Let us talk of that part in the morning. I want to consult with Mina. I thought that now was the time for Van Helsing to warn him not to disclose our plans to her, but he took no notice. I looked at him significantly and coughed. For answer, he put his finger on his lips and turned away. Jonathan Harker's Journal, 5th of October, afternoon. For some time after our meeting this morning, I could not think. The new phases of things leave my mind in a state of wonder, which allows no room for active thought. Mina's determination not to take part in the discussion set me thinking, and as I could not argue the matter with her, I could only guess. I am as far as ever from a solution now. The way the others received it, too, puzzled me. The last time we talked of the subject, we agreed there was to be no more concealment of anything amongst us. Mina is sleeping now, calmly and sweetly like a child. Her lips are curved and her face beams with happiness. Thank God there are still such moments for her. Later. How strange it all is. I sat watching Mina's happy sleep, and came as near to being happy myself as I suppose I will ever be. As the evening drew on, and the earth took its shadows from the sun sinking lower, the silence of the room grew more and more solemn. All at once, Mina opened her eyes, looked at me tenderly, and said, Jonathan, I want you to promise me something on your word of honor. A promise made to me, but made holy in God's hearing and not to be broken, though I should go down on my knees and implore you with bitter tears. Make it to me at once. Mina, I said. A promise like that, I cannot make at once. I may have no right to make it. But, dear one, she said with such spiritual intensity that her eyes were like pole stars, it is I who wish it, and it is not for myself. You can ask Dr. Van Helsing if I am not right. If he disagrees, you may do as you will. Nay, more, if you all agree, later, you're absolved from the promise. I promise, I said, and for a moment she looked supremely happy, though to me all happiness for her was denied by the red scar on her forehead. She said, Promise me that you will not tell me anything of the plans formed for the campaign against the Count, not by word, or inference, or implication, not at any time whilst this remains to me. And she pointed at a scar. I saw she was in earnest and said solemnly, I promise. And as I said it, I felt from that instant a door had closed between us. Later, midnight. Mina has been so bright and cheerful all evening, so much so that the rest seemed to take courage, as if infected somewhat with her gaiety. As a result, even I myself felt as if the pall of gloom which weighs us down was somewhat lifted. We all retired early. Mina is now sleeping like a child. It is a wonderful thing that her faculty of sleep remains to her in the midst of a terrible trouble. Thank God for it. But then, at least, she can forget her care. Perhaps her example may affect me as her gaiety did tonight. I shall try it. Oh, for a dreamless sleep. October 6th, morning. Another sunrise. Mina woke me early, about the same time as yesterday, and asked me to bring Dr. Van Helsing. I thought that it may be another occasion for hypnotism. Sorry about that. Hang on, let me just... Okay. I thought that it might be another occasion for hypnotism, and without question went for the professor. He had, evidently, expected some such call, for I found him dressed in his room. His door was ajar so that he could hear the opening of the door of our room. He came at once, and as he passed into the room, he asked Mina if the others might come too. No, she said quite simply. It will not be necessary. You can tell them just as well. I must go with you on your journey. Dr. Van Helsing was as startled as I was. After a moment's pause, he asked, "But why?" "You must take me with you. I am safer with you, and you should be safer too." "But why, dear Madam Mina? You know that your safety is our solemnest duty. We go into danger, to which you are, or may be, more liable than any of us from circumstances, things that have been." He paused, embarrassed. As she replied, she raised her finger and pointed to her forehead. "I know. That is why I must go. I can tell you now while the sun is coming up. I may not be able again. I know when the Count wills me, I must go. I know if he tells me to come in secret, I must come by wile, by any device to hoodwink, even Jonathan." God saw the look that she turned on me as she spoke, and if there be indeed a recording angel, the look is noted to our everlasting honor. I could only clasp her hand. I could not even speak. My emotion was too great, even for the relief of tears. She went on. "You men are brave and strong. You are strong in your numbers, for you can defy that which would break down the human endurance of one who had to guard alone. Besides, I may be of service, since you can hypnotize me and learn that which even myself do not know." Dr. Van Helsing said gravely, "Madam Mina, you are, as always, most wise. You shall with us come, and together we shall do that which we go forth to achieve." When he had spoken, Mina's long spell of silence made me look at her. She had fallen back on her pillow, asleep. She did not even wake when I had pulled up the blind and let in the sunlight which flooded the room. Van Helsing motioned to me to come with him quietly. We went to his room, and within a minute, Lord Godalming, Dr. Seward, and Mr. Morris were with us also. He told them what Mina had said and went on. "In the morning, we shall leave for Varna. We have now to deal with a new factor, Madam Mina. Oh, but her soul is true. It is to her an agony to tell us so much as she has done. But it is most right, and we are warned in time. There must be no chance lost, and in Varna we must be ready to act the instant that ship arrives. What shall we do, exactly? Asked Mr. Morris laconically. The professor paused before replying. We shall at first board that ship. When we have identified the box, we shall place a branch of the wild rose on it. This we shall fasten, for when it is there, none can emerge. So at least says the superstition. And to superstition we must trust at first. It was man's faith in the early, and it have its root in faith still. Then, when we get the opportunity that we seek, when none are near to see, we shall open the box, and all will be well. I shall not wait for any opportunity, said Morris. When I see the box, I shall open it and destroy the monster, though there were 1,000 men looking on, and if I am to be wiped out in the next moment. I grasped his hand instinctively and found it as firm as a piece of steel. I think he understood my look. I hope he did. I think he understood my look. I hope he did. Good boy, said Dr. Van Helsing. Brave boy. Quincy is all man. God bless him for it. My child, believe me, none of us shall lag behind or pause from any fear. I do but say what we may do, what we must do. But indeed, we cannot say what we shall do. There are so many things which may happen, and their ways and their ends are so various that until the moment we may not say. We shall all be armed in all ways, and when the time for the end has come, our effort shall not be on lack. Now, let us today put all our affairs in order. Let all things which can touch on others dear to us, and on us depend, be complete. For none of us can tell what, or when, or how the end may be. As for me, my own affairs are regulate, and as I have nothing else to do, I shall go make arrangements for the travel. I shall have all tickets and so forth for our journey. There was nothing further to be said, then we parted. I shall now settle up all my affairs of earth and be ready for whatever may come. Later. It is all done. My will is made and all complete. Mina, if she survive, is my sole heir. If it should not be so, then the others who have been so good to us shall have remainder. It is now drawing towards the sunset. Mina's uneasiness calls my attention to it. I am sure there is something on her mind, which the time of the exact sunset will reveal. These occasions are becoming harrowing times for us all. For each sunrise and sunset opens up some new danger, some new pain, which, however, may, in God's will, be means to a good end. I write all these things in the diary, since my darling must not hear them now. But if it may be, she can see them again. They shall be ready. She is calling to me. And thus concludes Chapter 24. Okay, we got there. So, very quick summary. I am reading Dracula all the way through October, and we're nearly at the end now. Just just Friday, where I will finish off Friday, Halloween as well, worth saying that, where we will read the final chapters of the book, which is going to be great. It's one of the most famous endings in all of literature, so I'm excited. I've never actually read Dracula before. This is the first time I'm doing it, so we are discovering this at the same time, which is cool. But the reason why I'm reading this and doing the spooky things for October is I am supporting Mermaids, which is a charity that supports trans, non-binary and gender diverse youth, their families, and also supports, advocates, that's a good word, it advocates for those people in society. And I'm sure anyone that has paid any attention to the news or, has any, seen some of the things that have gone around about trans people in recent years, society has done some awful things to kind of demonize and vilify and other trans people who just want to live their lives for no good reason. And organizations like Mermaids they play a vital role in safeguarding and advocating, again, that's probably the best word really, for the rights and interests of those people in society. So we've raised £110 so far, and it would be great to raise some more. And they've already reached out and thanked us for the money we've raised. And, it's very much one of those every penny makes a difference kind of things. And, even that £110 is going to mean the world to them. And, any more would be so, so awesome. So if you're interested, if you're watching the stream right now, in the chat just over there is a link to the campaign. It's on Tiltify. It's the big long Tiltify link that's in the chat. If you're watching this on the VODs, the link will be in the description. It should be down here somewhere. Yeah, you can check that out. The campaign is on Tiltify, which is a very well recognized service for fundraising with streamers. And on that page, there are more details about the campaign and also about Mermaids and the awesome work that they do. So if you're fortunate enough to be able to donate, even if it's just a few bucks, a few pounds, as I said, every penny, then that's awesome. But of course, not everyone's able to do that. The economy is not great. Job market's not great. Lots of us would love to donate more to charity, but sometimes we just can't. And, that's fine. But in that case, if you know anyone that might be interested or, cares about these sorts of issues, please consider forwarding the link to them, because then they might donate, or forward to other people and then they might donate, and so on and so forth. And if you don't know anyone and you can't donate and you just want to watch, then hi, and thanks for being here anyway. It's great to have you here, and just by being here, you are going to push this stream just a little bit up the algorithm. Hopefully then it will reach someone who will look at that link and will want to donate themselves. And in your own way, you're helping enormously. So whether you are donating, sharing, or just want to watch, in advance, on behalf of Mermaids, thank you.